After a fretful night of sleep, Snortius awoke to find himself changed. After he had defeated the mighty Gretchen, who challenged his position as boss, something happened. The Snotling mutated. He became long-limbed, and his skull enlarged to accommodate a much more smarter and much more cunninger brain. Snortius looked down at his form, covered in burn scars, and he was nothing like the innocent little Snotling that popped out of the ground so very recently. So, who was he now? What was he now? In order to contemplate these deep existential thoughts, Snortius picked his nose very seriously. One finger for each nostril. His thoughts were so deep. After a moment or two of contemplation, Snortius shoved his existential crisis aside in his mind, as continuing to think on it seemed more and more gittish by the moment. He climbed out of his boss burrow to a cloudy, sunless day. But that didn't dampen the mutant's mood. There was so much to do, and with his Mork-blessed brain, Snortius began to see things differently. First things first, Snortius had grown to nearly twice the size that he was when he first climbed out of the ground. None of his gear fit anymore. He would need replacements. Snot-Antinople would also need to be expanded and improved as well. He was eager to explore and hunt more creatures. There was so much to do. Snortius decided that he needed to acquire new gear first. He needed armor that fit him, and he needed a proper weapon. His bug mandible glaive had been damaged in the fight when he fell into the fire, and now was as good a time as any to get a better weapon suited to his new size. He set Pegleg to constructing a new weapon for him. A long, stone-tipped stabber. Snortius also wanted some new armor. He was bigger and tougher than he was before, but he was still only 1 meter tall, and still quite vulnerable to injury. Snortius passed by the temple in his search, and then was suddenly struck with a thought. A real thought. He saw the throne of bones set in the temple of Gork and Mork. Perhaps it was the gods speaking to him. But he felt that these bones of the tall thing that he found dead outside the monster's cave, well, it just wasn't proper. He didn't kill it. Why would Gork and Mork be pleased with bones of a git that Snortius didn't even snick? Snortius gathered the bones and decided to put them to better use. Snortius also heard the god box crackle to life in the temple. He couldn't make out any speech or anything coherent, but he also got the sense that Gork and Mork were displeased by the git god box in their temple. It was also not proper to have other gods in the temple, especially because the other gods could probably see and hear all the clever goings-on of Snot-Antinople as long as it stayed in the temple. As Pegleg was working on Snortius' spear, Snortius dropped the pile of bones nearby.
"Make this into armor. I gotta deal with this god box. Gork and Mork wants me to get rid of it. You wanna smash it? No. I got a better idea. If the Gitgals could hear and talk through the god box. Maybe we goes push it someplace else. That'll confuse them. Where you gonna take it? I wanna get rid of the Gits. And I wanna get rid of those Git bugs we fought earlier. We put the god box in the bug hole. Then, when the Gitgals come looking for their gubbins, they's gotta frag all the bugs that get to it. That's real clever, boss. Course it is. That's why I's the boss.
Snortius gathered his favorite snotlings to himself. He grabbed Tree Climber and Snotbow to join him on this expedition. He also needed some of his least favorite snotlings, so if the opportunity came up, he could get them snicked. He brought Redshirt along with his bloody poncho. He also grabbed another snotling who was part of Skullbash's rebellion, Meat Shield. He was a snotling who was a bit of a coward. He took the skin of one of the meat squigs and stretched it across a simple wooden frame to make a shield for himself, so he wouldn't get hurt. Well, hence the name Meat Shield. Snortius also set the Snots on a new project. He wanted to expand the squig pens. Snortius was very happy with his attack squig Pogchomp, but he wanted more and better squigs. The squig farmers hopped too. And so, Snortius picked up his new set of bone armor and his stabber from Pegleg. He called Pogchomp to his side, and he gathered the snotlings for their expedition, and went out to the bug nest. The five began tromping outwards, and Snortius's mind was abuzz with ideas. He was thinking constantly. He had been smart for a snotling, but being a giant mutated snotling, he was now thinking almost all the time. Snortius realized that he wanted there to be as many bugs as there could be for when the Git gods showed up. The longer they spent fighting the bugs to find their stupid box, the longer Snotantinople had time to prepare. But how to get the box into the bug nest?
Meat Shield, you got any meat with you? No. Was I supposed to? Your name's Meat Shield, ain't it?
Snotbow piped up.
I got some meat. Don't ask where I got it from.
Snortius grabbed the hunk of strange meat, and he wrapped it around the god box. Then he looked for a good spot to set the bait. Tree Climber did what he did best and climbed a nearby tree to spot the paths that the bugs were walking.
There's one over there. There's a good path.
Tree Climber directed Snortius to the good spot. The mutated snotling pressed the button on the god box one last time. He would fool these Git gods good.
Help! This thing's sucking me up, I need help! I'm dying, they's chopping me up and eating me! So come out, please. Thank you. Goodbye.
With that completely convincing distress signal, the boss of Snotopia set down the meat-wrapped god box and moved to cover. It was not long before one of the worker bugs scuttled up to the piece of meat and began waving its antenna around, smelling the air and searching for signs of danger. After a moment, the bug scooped up the meat and began carrying it back to the hive. Within a few moments, the god box was gone, vanished into the depths of the bug colony. The job was done. Simple. Very simple and very easy. Almost too easy. But there was still so much to be done. Snortius gave Pogchomp a pat on his ugly head as the group began heading back to Snotantinople. Then a funny thing began to happen. Snortius felt a drop of water fall on his head. The gray clouds he saw in the morning had darkened and become heavy with rain. One drop became two, and two quickly became many. Then Snortius had a realization. This water from the sky, it would hit the ground, and then it would become bigger water. And then the water would flow. It would go downhill, and water fills things up. There was something very bad about that Snortius couldn't quite figure out. Then it hit him. Snot-Antinople was almost entirely underground. If this sky water continued, every snot burrow would be flooded.
We've got to get back to Snot-Antinople! The sky water is gonna crump Snot-Antinople!
Snortius, Tree Climber, Snotbow, Red Shirt, and Meat Shield began to sprint as fast as they could back to the great walls of Snot-Antinople as the drops of sky water went from being many to going all the way to lots. Snortius needed to work fast if he wanted to save his city. But how? Snortius surely would need the blessings and cunning of Mork if he were to save Snot-Antinople. No man do they call me, my mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all for listening to the latest episode of Growing the Tribe. This story series is based off of a live stream RPG that I play with chat. My streams are usually at 5 p.m. GMT on Fridays, and I announce what I'm going to be doing each week in the community tab. So please join us, and if you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a like and a comment so that when the sky water does come, it does not wash away your poorly constructed underground home. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so already so you can hear more stories about building lasting empires that span entire weeks. If you would like to support me, you can do so via PayPal or Patreon. Both those links will be in the description. And if you are confused as to what's going on, you can click on the Growing the Tribe playlist, which should be appearing on screen right now. Thank you all very much for listening. No Man out.